You guys, I hope all is well with you today. Today is September the 19th, and just wanted to pop in today to see how your day is going and also to share another important um, concept when it comes to living our purpose. And kudos to you that are out there doing it and trying to do it in the best way you know how to in managing your health, managing your life, managing your family, and also to lifting others up, lifting other generations up. And so one of the things I want to talk to you about is that still small, that voice that we have inside of our head. And my brother, my eldest brother and I were talking today how often we know what to do. We hear the voice in our head, and we either can reject the truth or accept the truth. And I put reject first and accept last because often we remember the last thing that is said. And so even my brother mentioned that, I'll hear this voice tell me to do this. And for whatever reasons, variety of reasons, right? It could be our ego. It could be maybe we feel like we don't have enough time to do it. We don't have enough resources to do it. Maybe we'll look silly. Maybe we distrust ourselves. And that's often the case. We distrust the knowledge, the infinite knowledge, awareness that we have access to. And I know on times I've seen it in my life. I've shared this several times where, before the age of 5, I remember kids, neighborhood kids or my cousins, we were together, my eldest brother and I was under the age of 5, and they locked me into the closet. And I shared this story with my brother before we start talking about that inner voice. And I was banging on the door for them to let me out because there was this whole thing about, being scared about being in the closet. And I don't know, maybe I said I wasn't scared. Whatever the reason was, they locked me into this closet in our Memphis apartment. And I'm banging on the door, yelling, let me out, let me out. Then all of a sudden I hear this voice, this inner voice that says basically to be calm, sit down on the floor, relax, and someone will be in to save you, to get you. And for some reason, it's like I knew this voice trying to go into that inner child of me. And if you've ever had an experience like that, I knew this voice. And I did what it said. I stopped banging on the door because I listened, and I was stopped banging on the door. And then I sat down in this small space in the closet, in this dark closet, see a sliver of light coming through the door because I believe it was a double door closet. And I just sat there, and before you knew it, I heard a male's voice, another male's voice. And it was my father who walked in and was trying to figure out what we were doing. And he opened the door, and I walked out into the light. And I believe that's often what we do when we listen, take time. And I just got the aha moment. When we take time to listen to this voice, so many times we can rush and do stuff and do a lot of stuff. And then we don't get the results that we thought we should have received. Until we take time to quiet ourselves, our being, regardless of what is going on throughout the day. You could be at work and you go to the restroom, you go get a drink of water, you go sit outside in nature, and you're still. Be still. We often hear this Bible verse, be still and know that I am God. And often when we're still, when we surrender to our day, when we quiet ourselves, there's this inner voice that comes when we least expect it and when we most expect it, when we desire it. And it tells us to do something. And in that moment, we either accept it, because I want you to accept it, or we reject it. Now I've turned the words around. And so you listen to the first time when I use accept last to leave an impression on your mind. And I put it first to kind of flow into that word acceptance. When we accept the truth, and often you have seen when I do what's on my first mind to do, when I hear this voice and I follow it, things fall into place. My cooking is the best it has ever been. I could have, labored all over the stove all day and it still didn't turn out the way I wanted. Or I could cook for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and it's the best ever. I could write a blog and I get more responses than if I labored over it and didn't get any. I think is it Buddhism, the practice, where basically you do little and you receive more. And I think that littleness is actually allowing ourselves to humble ourselves, right? The littleness in us, to seek and bring out the greatness in us, the God within us. Because the Bible tells us that God made us in his image, and often we forget that. We keep going and going, doing. When nature knows, God knows exactly what it is we should be doing in any given moment, and what will bring us complete joy, right, and excitement, and will also, too, be a teachable moment, not for us, but also the others that are listening to us, that are around us, and it becomes a win-win. And so, that inner voice may have told you to not mess with this person, may have told you to take this job versus this job, may have told you to work these set of hours instead of this hour. And I myself find myself wanting to go back to that inner stillness. We call it meditation, but what it is that we quiet ourselves enough to listen to that inner voice within. That voice that is always ready to give us the information that we need when we need it, when the right time, because I believe there is a time for everything. There's a time for quiet, there's a time for lack of movement, and there's a time for movement. There's a time for speaking, there's a time for writing, there's a time for innovation and creativity and just music and dance and all the different gifts that we have endowed with. There's a time for their expression. And nature, God isn't a rushing God. Nature doesn't rush. Nature has its own flow, its own cycle that often we think is chaos, but it is organized chaos. It's organized in such a way to bring about the outcome that is necessary for the time. So I'm asking you today, leaving you with something, because we're talking about Heart-to-Heart Mondays. We're talking about millions of people diagnosed with heart disease. Heart is the root of joy, and also it can be the root of pain and sorrow and regret and resentment and blame. But when we take time to make time for that inner voice, that we won't get it right every time. But just like any habit, the habit of rejection, there could be a habit of acceptance, and say, I need to listen to you because you have the answers that I seek. Because I want a joyful life. I don't want to die of heart disease. I want to have a healthy heart, right? I want my blood pressure under control. I want my cholesterol under control. And I know there is a way, there's always a way to achieve that which we desire. We just have to be available to his voice, to its reason, and acceptance of it. Because in it is us, our highest being, that is speaking to us, through us. I'll talk to you guys later. Heart-to-Heart Mondays. Take care of your heart. You only get one. Take care of it. And the way you take care of it is not just in your eating habits, but your spiritual habits. Your emotional well-being, your mental well-being. How do you see your life experiences? How are you treating others? Because whatever we do to others, we have first done it to ourselves, right? So make this lifetime great, because you can. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. Reflect on and see, make that time available to spend time with the highest version of yourself. Talk to you guys soon.